gosh, guys, what's up? Whew. I had to re-up on the water, and then I had to go to the bathroom because I'm trying to drink all this water. It just sends you to, like, it's just too much. You know what I mean? But my goodness, welcome to What's the 411, where everyone's story matters. So we just heard Tawana's story, and it was such a phenomenal story. I was so honored to have her all the way from the UK sharing her endo journey with us. So if you missed the information, you definitely want to make sure that you guys are heading onto my IGTV to check out her phenomenal story and how far, her story has brought her. I mean, we connected just through what happened to be this, phenomenal event that we do each and every season. And it was just such an honor to hear her talk and share her journey with us. So I'm super excited to be here. And thank you so much for joining. And I'm excited conversation that I'm going to have with Jamelia because we definitely got in touch with each other just a few months back, and since then we've been, really getting to know more and more about each other, and I love what she is doing. So I'm excited to have Jamelia come on What's the 411 and just share with us what she's up to, what she's doing, how she got started, and then of course the rest of her phenomenal journey. So it's super exciting to have her join. So let's wait for her to pop in the building and talk to us all about it. And for those of you who do not know, Jamelia was one of our expert panelists on A Seat at Our Table. So it was just a fruitful season. Like, the spring edition was super fruitful. We had Tawana on just a little while ago, and now we're having Jamelia on. Both participants, but Jamelia was actually a panelist on The Seat at Our Table, and it was a phenomenal event. For anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to check out the summit, you definitely. Oh, can you hear? Hard to hear. Oh, it's good now? Okay. So anybody who didn't have the opportunity to check out A Seat at Our Table, it's on my YouTube page. So you definitely want to head over to my YouTube page, check it out. And you are going to be listening to a bunch of different individuals give their expertise, but we do have Miss Diamond Initiative herself, and then also we had phenomenal individuals who were supporting us by submission of commercials, advertising, gift giveaways. I mean, it was off the chain. Okay, guys, and so we do this seasonally. We're coming up to our summer edition, August 21st. And if you haven't seen the post already, you need to check my page, okay? So check my page and make sure that you guys are hopping on and signing up. If you know anybody that has a business, products, services, anybody that you think wants to join the expert panelists, anybody that wants to be a performer, I literally have one performance spot left. Just one. Like, the spots are filling up, guys. So make sure that you get yourselves organized. Get ready. Come on. Like, it's going to be a phenomenal event. Okay? So don't slip. Sign up. All right? Okay. Jamelia.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know why it wasn't allowing you to join before.
So I was multitasking because my mom wants to watch, so I was trying to sign her in really quickly and
Okay.
then click at the same time, but then it disappeared. So then I just sent the request.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Well, how
How
are
are
you
you?
doing? I'm
I'm
good.
good, thank you.
I'm good
It's nice
too.
to see you. I've been
Nice to
excited to
see
have
you
to talk with
too.
you.
Right? It seems like we organize it so far in advance, and then it just comes
Mhm.
up. Like, it's just like
So
there.
fast.
So quick, right?
Yeah,
It seems so
definitely.
far away, but it's here already.
I'm
Okay, so
glad though. I'm
introduce,
excited.
right? My gosh. So introduce yourself, tell everybody a bit about you and what you do.
Absolutely. Let me just switch this camera here. Okay. So, hey everyone. My name is Jamelia Gay. I am the founder and managing director of Diamond Initiative. So, last year during the pandemic, I decided to launch my own company. what better time than in a pandemic, right? So I started a virtual tutoring service called Diamond Initiative, where I provide tutoring for children in math and English, or if you're in the Caribbean, we just call it language arts. And I also host occasional lives. For example, I am unapologetically Black, which I'm sure we'll chat about a little later on. But I have always been passionate about working with children. I've been passionate about education, and I come from a long line of teachers. You know, most of my aunts, my mother is also a teacher and an early childhood educator, so it's in my blood. And it's just something that I've always been very passionate about.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. So like you got to talk to us. Let us know like what was that breaking point that you're like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just going to go out there and start this thing, you know?
You know, the funny thing is, it wasn't even a bad situation or anything like that that kind of pushed me over the cliff. I just knew I was already in my field of choice. I was already doing something that I had passion for, which was working in a childcare center. I've been working with children for over a decade. And at my last job, I was a supervisor for a very large center, 129 children.
Wow.
And I loved it, loved what I was doing. I had the privilege of starting to work there a month before we actually opened. So I was able to help get things ready from scratch, prepare for ministry, licensing, regulations, all of that good stuff. And I have a really great relationship still with the director and owner of the center. I still have a great relationship with some of the teachers, love the families, the children. So I was in a good place. As far as being an ECE goes, I was at the top of my game. I was a supervisor, right? Unless you open your own center, there isn't much further you can go.
Mm.
But I had to choose between purpose and paycheck. And even though I was making and that's not to say that if you follow your purpose, you're never going to get paid. Don't misunderstand.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to stay where I was just because I was working on a steady 9 to 5 and bringing in income.
Hmm.
I made sure that I had savings beforehand, enough to be able to pay my bills. Nothing to go shopping or, run the world or anything like that. I was very strategic about it, in preparing for it, because I wasn't sure when I was going to make that leap yet. I was kind of just waiting on God to tell me it's time,
Hmm.
instead of me telling myself it's time, because sometimes we talk ourselves into a move prematurely and we screw ourselves over that way. So, I was just having a conversation with my then boss, and I just knew that it was time for me to do my own thing. As much as I love that center, I felt that I was doing so much for someone else's baby.
Mm.
And I wanted to put that effort, that drive, and that consistency into my own goals. And it's not to say, if you want to stay in a 9 to 5, that's a bad thing. No, it's not. Different strokes for different folks. That
Right.
wasn't my stroke. It wasn't my purpose. And I knew deep down that it wasn't what I was meant to do. So I had to trust my intuition, have faith in myself, have faith in God, and just take that leap, get myself out of my comfort zone, because literally my comfort zone was the opposite of growth. And I felt like I wasn't growing because I wasn't following my purpose and my intuition.
Mm. And that's so important. I mean, you touched on so many different points, but
Hmm.
purpose versus paycheck, that is huge because a lot
Yeah,
of times we're like, my purpose, is that going to bring me the paycheck? You know what I mean? It's like
hmm,
that battle because that 9 to 5 is that consistent. You know exactly what you're
exactly.
getting every 2 weeks, right? So that must have been difficult. How was that for you to just jump in and say, you know what, it's okay. Yes, I'm preparing for it, but I'm willing to take the risk.
So here's the thing, at that point, I wasn't really scared about it because I
Hmm.
trusted myself. And more importantly, I trusted God, and I knew it was the right time. And like there have been many times before, even before I worked at that center, and that, like, I think that job I loved the most out of anywhere that I've worked with children
Hmm.
in Canada. Um, but even before I started working there, like I've been at other places and be like, man, I don't want to be here. I didn't
Hmm.
want to be there because like things were not consistently okay where I was. And I could have just said, I don't like how this is going. I don't like how some people treat each other here, etc., etc. maybe it's time for me to start my own business now. But I would have been doing it for the wrong reasons. I would have been running away from something, and I don't run from anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what I knew that I needed to do at that point in time in my life and in my journey was steadily walk towards my purpose and my goal. I just trusted my faith, trusted myself, and I knew that it was time. So it wasn't really scary at that point. Realistically speaking, it should have been because it was in a pandemic. Now, which is not the most steady time to do anything new. But in my defense and in defense of my sanity, I actually gave 3 months notice ahead of time. So I gave notice in November 2019. I gave a lot of notice because I love that center and I wanted to make sure we had time to find the right person, train this person, make sure that it was a very smooth transition.
Mm-hmm.
And then, time came, February, I went home to Trinidad for Carnival, and then to do some research. And within a month of being there, the entire world shut down and all
Yeah.
my plans just went down the drain. And I think it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. My plans falling apart because then Diamond Initiative came about and that wasn't part of the initial plan.
Mm,
So, it was a good reminder for me to let go, let God. Because
yeah.
sometimes what we have planned is so much less than what God has in store for us.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're gripping onto your plan so much, you're not going to have room to hold what He's sending your way. You have to let it
Right.
go.
Let it
You
go.
have to let it go. So I let go. And here I am. I met you along the journey. So things
Yeah.
must be great.
Yeah, yeah, and it was a pleasure. I mean, like, ever since I met you, I see how dedicated you are. You are out here, you're doing your thing. I was watching you on the live the other day, and I'm just like, damn, Jamila is out here, bro. Like, she's just doing it, you know?
Thank
So
you.
big up yourself because a lot of individuals that I have met during this pandemic have started their business during the pandemic. And it's so
Mhm.
phenomenal to be able to step out there, step into your greatness, into your purpose,
Yeah.
and then actually just continue, as you're saying, to place your plans before the Lord and just put your hands up and
Let
be like,
go.
take you,
Exactly. You know what's
right?
funny? You said something really important when you said big up yourself, and I think a lot of people, especially our female entrepreneurs and businesswomen, don't, or they're either too shy to do it, or they are afraid of how they would be perceived if they compliment themselves, say, "No, I'm phenomenal at what I do."
Right,
It doesn't
yeah,
mean that you're cocky. It doesn't mean you're showing off. It means that you work damn hard and you're giving yourself several pats on the back because you're
yeah,
doing a great job. And a lot of people just see what you put on social media, but they don't see the hustle and the struggle and the late nights and early mornings and tireless efforts that are behind it. So yeah, pat yourself on the back, everybody. Give yourself
right?
thanks and praise for doing what you do because it's not easy, especially in a pandemic, just waking up in the morning and going at it again
Yeah,
to follow your purpose because you got the chance to live another day. It's not easy. It's worth it, but it's not easy. So big up yourself.
yeah,
I do.
100%. Yeah, we have to. And we have to remind ourselves to do that too, because as you said, being an entrepreneur, you're not working the typical 9 to 5. Your day isn't set out. You're not getting up at a certain time to get to work at a certain time to get, you know what I mean? It's like all night sometimes, or half the night,
100%.
all day, right?
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So talk to us about the name. You had mentioned that this wasn't, this came out of the pandemic. This was birth. So
Mhm.
talk to us how Diamond Initiative came up to be.
So I'll start with the initiative first. And the reason I wanted it to be initiative is because Diamond Initiative is more than just a business. Diamond Initiative is a lifestyle. Diamond Initiative is professional development, personal development. It's ongoing and it is to fill the need, to provide a service. It's more than just bringing in income. I tutor, yes. That's what brings in the income for Diamond Initiative. But most of the things that I do right now with Diamond, like the lives and stuff, all of that is free, right? It's my initiative. It's something that I want to do, something that I give up willingly. I like to give up myself, not to the point where people take advantage, but it's just about being cognizant of how far you can. And with regards to the diamond, that fell into play really, really quickly. So I grew up, or from the age of 9 till, well, now my home in Trinidad is on Diamond Crescent. So that was part one. And then my mother always calls me Diamond because I've been through a lot. It's been a long journey. I've had some struggles. I've had a lot of struggles. And, that diamond is formed through that pressure, through that heat, through the fire, through the wire, if we want to quote Kanye West. Um, it takes a lot, and you have to be able to bear a lot and still come through that journey, come out the other side. So Diamond has always been my nickname from mommy. And when I was like playing around with it and thinking, do I really want to go with Diamond? I noticed the IAM, and that I am in Diamond was just sold it for me, that mantra. I am are two of the most important words that you could ever say, because what comes after it defines who you are. And that's something that I always talk about, defining who you are. And, that was a very defining moment for me. And I like to use it as a reminder whenever people see the logo to make your own mantra. I am strong. I am powerful. I am vulnerable. I am sad today. I'm happy today. I am a hustler. I am soft. I am gentle. I am a queen. I am a king. I'm phenomenal. I'm exhausted. I am going to make it. I'm going to keep trying. You
Yeah.
say what comes after it. You define yourself. So that's where the diamond came from. I am
And
diamond.
then how important are those statements? Those I am statements are like life.
They are. I don't even think it's like life. It is life. You
Yeah.
breathe with God, and through God, you breathe life into yourself. And I think a lot of people give that power away to their peers, to family members, sometimes to their employers, to other races in the community, etc. Like we can go up and up and up with regards to who we give that power to. And I think it's time that we reclaim that. And we've been seeing that journey a lot in the media with different people, individuals, different families, different communities, even in the business community, really reclaiming that statement, I am. This is who I am. You don't define it, I do. And, you may have noticed that in there, I also put, I am vulnerable. I feel sad today, because those are also okay. And that's healthy to feel
Yeah.
those things. It doesn't mean that it's negative. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It makes you strong to be willing to accept that you feel those things, to internalize it, to figure out what it means, and to work through it. And, especially in our community, there's this big stigma around, mental health, mental illness, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, etc. And, get rid of the labels. Yes, we need to put a name to it, to seek the resources, to seek the assistance to get through it. Sometimes we need help. We all do.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with it. That's who you, that's it. That's who you are, and who you are, it's helping who you are going to be tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. So define your I am each day. It could change every single day, and that's fine. You decide if it
Right.
does. That is life. It's how you get through life, by defining yourself. Because I promise you, there are other people who are rushing to do it for you.
Mm-hmm. 100%. But I remember seeing one of your videos this most recently, and you were talking about this, giving yourself space to allow that vulnerability, allowing yourself to say, I am not feeling so good today. I am
Yep.
tired. I need a break. I am in need of a break, whatever it is. It's so important. But what led you to actually put that out there? Because of course, on social media, we're always seeing the glitz and the glam and everybody, talking all of the great things. But that other side of it, we don't see so much of.
Yep. So I wanted to put that out there because that's me too. I am that person
Hmm.
sometimes. And especially recently, and you would have known because we spoke about this, but I had a day either last week or the week before where I had to take a mental health day because I was mentally exhausted. I wasn't ill or anything like that. I just couldn't do anything productive that day. And I had to cancel my clients. And if you know me, I don't like canceling with clients at all. But they'll survive, it's not something I do on a regular. Um, but I had to take care of myself and do what was important for me. And I think that's important too, being self-aware, knowing when you need that break. And like you said, on social media, you see the glitz and the glamour. And I wanted people to see more than just Diamond Initiative, the services. I wanted to also show Diamond Initiative Jamelia. And I wanted, to kind of spread that awareness and level of being okay with getting people to see the person behind the profile on social media. Social media could be a very well-crafted device, as it should be, because you want to make sure that you're putting the right thing out there, make sure people are not taking advantage of who you are in your personal time, etc. But at the same time, if I expect people to buy into my service, invest in me, invest in my brand, then to some points, I think they can see the person behind the profile. Not fully, because I also value my privacy, but I also really believe in authenticity. That was very important for me. And as a brand, I think it's important for me to portray that and to model that as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's not always easy, and especially because, we have people that are, we're on social media, people can be judgmental. So you,
Can
again,
be
gotta
tough,
make,
yeah.
right? So you
And
gotta pat yourself on the back for that one as well, being able to just put yourself out there, being vulnerable, and not really watching what anybody is going to say or how they would feel about you doing so. It's
for
huge.
sure.
Hmm. So talk to us about, let's switch gears and talk about education, talk about the
Hmm.
education field and how you believe this pandemic has kind of affected the children, maybe the children that you work with, or just in general, what you believe.
Um, so many things. I'll just pick a couple, but there's this pressure on children to perform. And I put emphasis on the word perform because it's not natural for them to, first of all, adjust to this switch, this very abrupt switch in a heartbeat. Like it's not natural for them to just, be used to seeing their friends every day, be used to being in a physical space every day, and all of a sudden they're expected to stay at home
Yeah.
24/7 and then, learn and function as though nothing changed. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure on children to sit still all the time, to act perfect all the time, to not be fidgety all the time. And, it's really, really different. Um, the household, excuse me, the household is usually that place where children are relaxing, where they have family time, where they get to watch TV or be on their tablets or play in their backyard. But it's not, and yes, they may have to do some homework, but it's not the place where they learn for hours at a time during the day, unless you're homeschooled, right? And now that has moved from that place of comfort and relaxation to a school setting, and they have to get used to that. And it could be very difficult for them to just flip that switch. One day you're waking up at home on a Saturday and you get to, watch TV, play in the backyard, and now you're waking up and you have to sit in front of a computer screen all day. It's different and it's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. And then also there are inequities in society, in our communities that were already there pre-pandemic, but it's been exacerbated, deeply exacerbated in the pandemic. And yes, we have that Ellie, excuse me for 1 minute, sorry.
No problem. I know those ones when you get the tickle in the
Hmm.
throat,
At the worst time too.
you know, prime
Excuse me.
time, prime time,
No manners.
you know?
Um, yeah, so, I feel like the pandemic has exacerbated already existing inequities. We're expected to have children in virtual learning 24/7, 5 days a week. But what about children who don't have access to technology? What about children who are in, vulnerable, marginalized communities and they don't have internet access? What about families who have multiple children and they only have one family computer? And now you have three or even two children who both have classes at the same time, have to log in at the same time, but the families they don't currently have the resources to be able to purchase more than one device. Then what do you do? So do you choose which child gets to learn? Do you alternate days? How do you keep up with that? So it's very difficult now in the pandemic. It's been such a massive and abrupt change that I think a lot of people, some educators included, are underestimating and not holding as a priority enough. that
Mm,
things are hard. You have children who have different learning styles. You have
yeah,
children who are neurodiverse, who need that one-on-one instruction and the
yeah.
extra resources. You have children who may be visually impaired. So do they have a device that can, you know, have that extra auditory stimulation for them to be able to keep up?
Hmm.
There are so many differences that I think a lot of people are not really taking into consideration. And in general, it's hard. It's hard for us as adults to get used to the pandemic. So imagine how it could be for children
Yeah.
to get used to it.
Hmm.
And by the time they do get used to it, something else changes.
I'm telling you. Um, Kids are really resilient, although they don't show as much pressure on them as we do. They show it in different ways.
Yep.
So I feel like definitely 100%, even with my own children, I've seen a difference in their learning style. When they're done, they're just done. They don't
Yeah,
want to be on this system all day. It's not the same, you know what I mean? So it's really, really hard.
for sure.
What are some keys that you can tell us as parents, as guardians, as even teachers or support staff out there that are virtually learning with these kids? What are some tips that we can do or to help our kids out?
I think be patient and remember that, children are people too. They are our little humans. They are allowed to feel, they're allowed to be frustrated sometimes, and they should be able to feel that comfort and have the opportunity to ask for help or to voice if they are frustrated. Sometimes as adults we don't want to hear that, or even if we do want to hear it, we don't recognize it because
Hmm.
children show us they're frustrated in several ways. They show us that they don't understand in several ways. They show us that they're struggling in several ways. So I think just being patient and practicing that pause. If you see children, are not engaging or they are lashing out or throwing tantrums, as some people like to put it, pause and ask yourself why. What's the reason behind it?
Hmm.
Anger is a secondary emotion, and for every behavior that a child displays, there's a purpose for it. There's a reason behind it.
Right.
There's something that they're trying to gain from that they haven't been able to gain through constructive behavior.
Right.
So I think, as adults, parents, guardians, teachers, it's important to have patience with them, be gentle with them. Know when you have to be firm with them for sure, because discipline, not punishment, discipline, very different, is also very important too. It's imperative, but
Right.
we have to find that balance, and I think be gentle with them.
Hmm.
Something else I could suggest is asking thought-provoking questions. So, you're not just looking for a right or wrong answer, process over product. Help them to understand what they're doing, what they're working out, what they're trying to get through. Ask them those questions, how, engage in Socratic questioning, really challenge their thinking process so that they can, even if in the future, if they can't directly figure out something, they can track their process of thinking and work the problem.
Right.
Like you said, children are resilient, and we really want to nurture that and encourage that in them, and also encourage that self-confidence. And that's something that I hold really dear with regards to Diamond Initiative tutoring is encouraging that self-confidence in children. I'm all about edification in education, so I want to uplift children while I'm teaching them. I don't just focus on academics. And it would be great as adults to motivate children, to advocate for them until they can advocate for themselves, empower them through teaching, and allow them to learn through play as well. There is a lot that you can learn through play. It's not just, nonsense or doing nothing or just kicking a ball. You're learning your social skills, social emotional intelligence. You are learning, you can even learn math through play. Like there's so much that we can do if we just seek innovative and creative ways to get it done while still maintaining that level of discipline and empathy.
So important because while some parents are working from home, some parents are just at home, some parents still have to go outside to work. There's a different strategy going on in everybody's house, so these different keys are going to help to try to figure it out. Because on a regular day, back in the day, when things were normal and, your kid went to school and came back home, it was still a dynamic to work with them to get the homework done. You had to try to try to think of different strategies to,
Yeah,
and every child is different. So you may have
100%.
one that learns this way and then the next one's learning that way. So it's important.
That's
But
true.
just give me 1 second. I have to plug in my
Yeah,
charger
no
here
problem.
because I am dying.
Excuse me.
But what I wanted to ask you was you were talking about a big point here, and I want to just touch on it briefly, was discipline and not punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big difference there. But sometimes as parents, we don't always know the difference, or we can get frustrated or whatever. So, in your opinion, what's the difference between between
Discipline.
punishment and discipline?
In my personal and professional opinion, there isn't really anything to learn through punishment. Discipline is having consequences, productive consequences. Discipline, using redirection. Discipline is helping children to see, there's the antecedent, behavior, consequence. And for every action, there is a reaction. For every decision that you make, there is a consequence. You're always free to choose, but you're not free from the consequence that will follow. So I think, discipline is about letting children know that, if you make A or B as your decision, chances are C is going to happen, and that's okay. Discipline is instilling in children the idea that it is okay to be frustrated. I'm the parent, I'm frustrated too. This situation is frustrating me. It doesn't mean that you're a bad child, but it means that you're allowed to feel this feeling, but let's find productive ways to deal with it, to show it. Do you need to take a pause? Do you have um, we have like those fidget toys, those pressure toys, for children with autism, for example. Some children may need their weighted blankets, for example, to, calm down a little bit. Do you need to take 30 seconds, 60 seconds to take a step back, breathe, self-regulate, and then return. Um, but at the same time, if you choose not to, if you choose just to express your frustration in a less than constructive way, then chances are your toy is going to get taken away from you. Your privilege is going to be removed until tomorrow or a set time.
Right.
And this is a part of life. And I think it's important for children to have that discipline because children grow up to be adults. And there are a lot of adults roaming the streets who didn't have any discipline growing up for one
No,
reason or
there's
another because they were not aware or not taught that when they display a certain behavior or when they choose a specific action, there will be a consequence. There isn't that respect for self and respect for others. And I think that's where discipline comes to play. This is punishment where it's just saying you did something, I don't like it, so you go in the corner. What are they learning
yeah.
when you do that?
Mhm.
So I feel like every opportunity with children is an opportunity to teach them something and it's an opportunity for them to learn and an opportunity for us to learn from them too. It's a
Right.
it's a it's about reciprocity. And I feel like as adults, especially if you grew up in the Caribbean, like myself, adults don't really ask children what they don't really want to, or maybe not want, but they're not used to learning from children. I'm the adult, I'm the teacher, I'm the parent, you have to listen. And some children ask why. That's not necessarily a rude thing. They could ask it in a rude way, but is there is there really something wrong with them asking why? Even if you don't want to tell them in that moment, but explain to them, sit them down and say, the reason this did happen or this can't happen is because the reason you can't touch the stove is because you're going to get burnt. It doesn't mean you go let them burn their hand off to find out,
Yeah.
but there's a reason for everything. And it's not always a bad thing to let children ask those questions because that's how they learn.
Right.
And if they don't know, then they're going to continue growing up just testing things,
Mm-hmm.
to find out why when we can give them that information. And that's where the Socratic questioning comes in, right? We want to stimulate their minds. We want them to ask those
Right.
questions. That's how they learn. That's how they grow. That's how they thrive.
Yeah. And that's important too because, if you have a child out there, you watched any children, you're out there, auntie, uncle, whoever, there's always the child that loves to ask questions. They'll
Yep.
just be asking question after, but why? But what about this? But what about that? And sometimes it could be like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I mean? You are
100%.
learning,
It drives me crazy sometimes.
right? But not only that, but you're also learning because the child is asking you questions that you've never thought of. And now you've
Exactly.
got to give them the answer.
But that's the thing. I feel like that's one thing that intimidates a lot of adults too, not knowing the answer. But there's nothing wrong with not knowing the answer. Just say you don't
Right?
know. Let's find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
You can learn together. Now you're going on this journey of knowledge together, and that helps to model a quest and a thirst for learning.
Right.
Showing them that excitement. Oh my goodness, I don't know. I haven't learned that yet. That is a great question. Let
Yeah.
me find out. Do you want to find out with me? Let's search. Let's read a book. Now you're encouraging them to engage in literacy, language and literacy. You're
Yeah.
making them eager to learn new things, to read a book. You're
Hmm.
showing them that it is okay when you get older to not have all the answers
Yeah.
and to continue learning. Because if you know everything, then you don't need to be in here anymore. You're done.
Yeah.
So I feel like it is really important to just be patient. It's hard sometimes, especially
Yeah.
with all like the 10,000 questions. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
be patient. Be willing to learn too. We don't have to have all the answers, and that's part of being vulnerable adults as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let's teach our children that it's okay.
Hmm. And yes, we have a comment here. We lion well on the move. Sorry. Thank you for explaining that so well. That was phenomenal, Jamila. Like you just put everything into perspective,
Thank
for
you.
us. But yeah, discipline versus punishment. We need that in the Caribbean community big time. All communities, but we start at home, which is 100%.
Hmm.
Because, whether we are, for myself, I was born here, but my parents are from the Caribbean. So we know
Yep.
that life. You know what I mean? It's children are seen and not heard.
Yes.
Children can't ask those kind of questions. You can't ask why. It's just because I said so, and that's the end of the story. So,
But here's the thing. Here, and
mhm,
I apologize for cutting you, but here's the thing, right?
okay,
So what you said was so important, as I saw that a lot growing up in the Caribbean too. Thankfully, my parents allowed all those questions. I asked a lot. But when we say children should be seen and not heard, and don't ask why, when they like, let's say it's a young girl, when she grows up and she goes to a party, and a guy is saying, "You need to come home with me," or you need to come to my room, or I'm gonna do this and you don't need to ask why, you don't need to say no, you don't need to ask questions. And that's when some of these young adults give into peer pressure because they were taught to be seen and not heard. They were taught not to ask those questions. They were taught, and they've come to internalize not speaking up, not asking, not questioning, not challenging, to be timid, to
true,
shrink. And
yeah,
we wonder why. And then we victim blame after, which is a whole other conversation that I won't go into now. But we create these individuals to be the way they are, and we don't even notice that we're doing that from a simple, "Oh, I don't want to hear any more questions today," you know.
mm,
And not every individual will grow up like that. That's a very broad example, but I'm trying to show the correlation between the things that seem little when they're children and when they get older. They start small. We all started small, and those things form who we are. They all line up, they all have a place in our journey and in the decisions that we make, in the decisions that we don't make for ourselves. So let them ask those questions.
and
If you
that's
need a
huge.
pause, tell them write it down or think about it. Or if they can't, they are unable to write yet, if they are now learning to hold pencils or whatever the case may be. If they don't have hands, for example, then give them a recorder, hold it for them and let them go and record the questions and play it for you later. If you as an adult don't have the capacity at that point to listen, because we need
Right,
a break too. But
right.
let those questions come when they can, before they get to the age where they're not asking you questions anymore and you wish they would.
It's so true because, as we know, we're adults now. There's a certain time kids grow up fast. Before you know it, you're an adult and then you're out there just doing your own thing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Wow.
And there was one thing in that comment that you read, well on the move, that she said at the end, all communities, but we start at home, which I agree with. But at the same time, not every child has a home, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Four walls, my own family, what about the children who grew up in an orphanage, for example, and
Right.
they didn't have that guidance, or even someone who grows up at home, but they don't have those guardians to nurture them. So,
Right.
sometimes it's up to us as educators to really step in, not to take over that role or fill that role, but to expand on the little that they may have learned before, or even just give that knowledge as much as we can. I feel like everyone has a part to play, and as educators, we don't know what home looks like. As parents, we don't always know what school looks like. So we
Right.
all have to do our part so that there isn't a gap, or if there is a gap, we can fill it.
100%. And that's important to remember too, because we're not all coming from the same dynamic, right?
Hmm.
It's important to remember that for sure. Um, so you do a lot of tutoring
Yeah.
for kids, and growing up, I remember how important it was to have a tutor, just to give you that, even if you were a straight A student, it is still
Hmm.
important to have tutoring. Give us some like keys to remember on why we should get our children a tutor, and then the benefits of having tutors.
Yeah, for sure. So I think one thing for sure is that one-on-one individual attention. Especially as children get older, the class size and the teacher-child ratio, it just grows exponentially. And not every child is that boisterous, make myself known in a crowd child. We have some children who may feel intimidated, may feel overwhelmed, who are just quiet, or, who maybe can't even voice their thoughts. And I feel like it's important for that one-on-one interaction with teacher and child. Even if it is group, like a small group tutoring, at least it's a smaller class size. And, just being able to take that time with children to help them move at an individual pace. So one, they don't feel like they're competing with anyone. They don't feel like they're falling behind. And then there's that comfort versus the intimidation that they may feel in a classroom where their peers are advancing at a pace that they're not yet. And, with our school system, it's very standardized, and not every child fits into that box. This isn't a box, but I'm just putting my hands together. Not every child fits into that. And it could be very intimidating when you have peers and sometimes even teachers comparing children. So I think, the tutoring helps, the individual piece helps for sure. Um, I think tutoring also helps with regards to being a confidence builder. Self-confidence is imperative. It's very crucial, and really taking the time to motivate children for the small wins, even if it is that they, give one part of a question right and everything else was wrong that day. Really focus on that one thing that they did. Obviously, you're going to help them learn how to self-correct and encourage development with regard to the areas of need, but building that self-confidence is key with children, especially in the early years. And even if you're working with the older ages, the preteens, the teenagers, they need that too. Every year is a crucial time for these children. And I think with tutoring, there's so many other elements that you can maximize on while growing their academic abilities.
Mm. Wow. And so, as a tutor, what sets you aside? Like, what are some of the key things that you are going to give to the children when they sign up with you?
Well, for one, I'm very good at what I do. I'm really great at math. I'm really great at English. So those are the two that I really wanted to set my business on. Um, so it's not like I'm giving you a 6 for a 9, which is a Trini way of saying I'm giving you something when you should have gotten something else. Um, and like I mentioned earlier, edification in education, I'm all about uplifting you through your academic journey, empowering you, really building that self-confidence, but also helping you to thrive in school, because at the end of the day, there are subjects that you need to pass. For most people to get that job that you want when you get older, you need to have a list of degrees or diplomas and all that stuff, the paperwork. And I am I'm very focused on helping children to grow academically, but not just teaching them to do it, but helping them to do it themselves. You
Mm.
know, when a child does something or gets something right, I don't just say, "Oh, I'm proud of you." I say, "Oh, you must feel so proud. How do you feel?" So in that academic growth, there's also that awareness and that internal motivation, that self-praise. So they're not just seeking it from the outside world. And now again, you're building that self-confidence while I'm teaching.
Awesome. And then, so you not only tutor here, you also do tutoring in Trinidad.
Yes.
So you do both?
I do both, which is the benefit of virtual learning. I am able to teach anybody globally, which I actually love, and I could do it all from the comfort of my home. But it was really important for me to do this back home in Trinidad and Tobago. That's where I was born, that's where I was raised. It will always be home. I reside in Canada, but Trinidad is home. Trinidad and Tobago is home. And I love being able to give back to my community. It's not a place that I will ever turn my back on. So I partnered with the YMCA of Trinidad and Tobago to launch an initiative called On My Time Blended Learning Program, where again we're trying to fill that gap, especially for children and families in vulnerable and marginalized communities. Raise awareness to the fact that some of them don't have that access, and in a pandemic where everything is shut down, they are unable to learn because they aren't able to access these things. And, people are talking about it, but not many people are doing the work to help. So we're just trying. So I really wanted to be able to just do both work here because this is also a part of my community. But community isn't just where you're located at that point in time. Right now there is a global community, and I would love for it to stay that way post pandemic. So I've just been working in both places, and also just, working with some children outside of the islands and Canada as well.
That's amazing. And as you said, like this pandemic has really opened doors, you know.
Yes.
Although we are at home, we're able to connect across seas in so many different ways. It was always possible, but I guess we never really, thought about it. So
Yep.
this pandemic has opened it up, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
well, this one thing I always say is if God closes a door, praise him in the hallway. And I feel like the pandemic not to take away from the very detrimental effects and from, the vast losses that we as a community, a global community have felt, and then individual people and families as well are facing every day. But on the other hand, the slightly brighter side is, we are connecting now more than ever. People are starting their businesses more than ever. People are, venturing out, coming out of their comfort zones, networking, they're thinking outside the box. And, that's where adapt or die comes into play, and faith over fear. You take that leap and you adapt and try to remain positive through a very gloomy situation. And it doesn't mean that you can't have, negative days or you can't be down. Take a pause, take a breather, take as much time as you need, but just don't stop. Keep going. And, that's something that I would say to children, and it's something I say to families and adults too. Just keep going as slowly as you need to, but keep going.
And that's important to remember too, because like through this entrepreneurial journey, even stepping into any lane that you are trying to push yourself, you always have those stumbling blocks, those hurdles that you need
100%.
to go through, failures. But as you said, keep on going, keeping your head above
Hmm.
water and just continuing to tread is important
Yeah,
too.
for sure. And is it really failure though, or is it a life lesson? Did you learn from it? It's
Yes.
only failure if you didn't learn something from it.
Right, right, 100%. I agree with that 100%. It's always a lesson, never a
Hmm.
failed unless you decide that you're not doing anything about it. If you want to fall down and stay down, then that's a failure. That's the only
Yes.
way it's a failure. But yeah, you got to get back up and keep pushing. And and as you mentioned at the beginning of this, when you have a plan, allowing the plan to just take wings for itself and do different
Yeah.
things for you. Because that's a part of it too. Not being, you're not planning something and then when it doesn't go your way, it kind of, puts you in that slump where you don't want to
Hmm.
move forward anymore. Yeah.
And we're tempted to be and stay in that slump too, right? Because it's
Right.
easy to do that, to just kind of give up and, the self-pity and the woe is me and all of that. It's so easy. And I've done that before, which is why I
Yeah.
could speak on it, right? Because I've made the choice to do that, but now I'm making the other choice to
Yeah.
keep going, to try again, to learn from it.
hmm And that's exactly what it is. It's a choice. It's a
Mm-hmm. For
choice,
sure.
right? It's important to remember that too. But let's talk about I am unapologetically black. I'm
Mm.
interested in hearing what this is all about. How did you start this? What is this? Talk to us.
So I started Diamond Initiative Presents I Am Unapologetically Black for a couple of reasons. One, because I was, just fed up of this whole Black History Month thing where corporations are like, for the people, pro-Black, put your, Black employees in the forefront and all that foolishness. And then from March 1st, it's just whitewashed
Yep.
all over again. Like I was sick of it.
Yep.
And I also wanted to do it because it pushed me out of my comfort zone. Because a year ago, like chances are I wouldn't even be having this conversation with you. Like I would have shied away from it because I wasn't usually the one to, take the mic and host a live or be on someone else's platform and things like that. And like I said earlier, your comfort zone is the opposite of growth. And I wanted to continue growing and developing myself. And if I'm trying to teach my children to be brave and to have self-confidence and I'm not doing it, then what's the purpose? Then I'm not being authentic. So I started I am unapologetically black for that reason. And in what I did was I hosted a weekly live, and for each week, in each segment, I interviewed and had a wonderful discussion with different females in the Black community. Um, Very empowering, very uplifting, very real conversation. And it was just having a conversation and a discussion on, representation, identity, empowerment in communities throughout Canada and the Caribbean. So I hosted women in the GTA as well as in Trinidad and Tobago as well. And then some of these topics were fearlessly maintaining an Afrocentric perspective in childcare and youth programs. So that was with Rafiat Ahmed, who you've had on, who was at the summit as well, Fearlessly Fifi, and biracial, multiracial identity development, multiculturalism, and the sojourner's journey with Alicia Ali, being the unapologetically Black parents, how important is representation, equity, and advocating for your child in childcare programs. And that was with Anika Ford. And then I also had Odette Alexander, who is the CEO of the YMCA in Trinidad and Tobago. And she spoke about affecting change and empowerment in the community as a Black professional. So we covered a lot. We had a lot of deep conversations, of a lot of very necessary conversations, and we still had fun with it along the way as well.
That's phenomenal. Those are conversations that we definitely always need to have. Are those lives like saved on your IGTV?
Yeah, they're on my profile
Uh,
and my IGTV, so you can
oh,
see them anytime.
okay. And so are you going to be bringing back this conversation?
I am, so I do want to bring it back for sure. I also want to, over the year, I want to do some other I am. So look out for that as well. Some of the I am conversations that I think are really important for, the Black community, the female community, diverse community, the global community, just, everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, wow. And then, so why are these conversations so important to you?
hmm Because we're more than just 1 month. I'm more than just 1 month, for sure. Um, because there are a lot of annoying elements to it, especially when you work in an industry or in a business place where you maybe want the only or one of the only Black individuals or individuals of color. They're fascinated with your hair. Oh my goodness, you change your hair every day, and all that stuff. And then also just to talk about diversity and respect and inclusion in general, because as much as I advocate for the Black community, we also have, the Asian community, we have Hispanians, Latinos, etc., and we want to really instill that idea of inclusion, instill that idea of respect in
Right.
general. Um, and I felt like this initiative represented more, as much as it was about the Black community, it represented a lot more than just the Black community.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's so much to talk about, and with racism and all these inequities and inequalities that are happening globally, it comes down to respect. People don't respect us, people don't respect each other, they don't respect themselves. They might hold themselves in high esteem, but you can't respect yourself if you're going to treat other people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I really wanted to talk about acceptance, equity, inclusivity, and respect. Um, and racism isn't new. It's just now being recorded and broadcast live. And we didn't have this level of technology back in the day.
Right.
So they had more time to spin the narrative the way they wanted to. They don't have much time now because now we can go on Instagram Live when something is happening and show it.
Mm-hmm.
They might try to backtrack, but now they have less time to to change the narrative or to recreate this situation for how it is. So I really wanted to have this initiative to have these conversations and to hear different mindsets and points of view as well. Because yes, I'm Black. Yes, you're Black. It doesn't mean that we think alike. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that we look alike. We're the two different skin tones. Our hair is
Mm-hmm.
different. And I feel like even within the Black community, sometimes we expect each other to be the same, or we don't respect each other if we have a different skin tone. There are Black individuals of every skin tone,
Yep.
light, albino, dark as clay tar, and it's beautiful. Like Black is beautiful, and we are
Mm-hmm.
multifaceted individuals. We don't look the
Right.
same, we don't think the same, we don't sound the same, but we are a community. We're a strong community. We're also a vulnerable community, and that's okay. And I felt like there was so much to discuss, including, the importance of mental health and mental health awareness. So there's a lot that I wanted to touch on, some that I couldn't cover in the time that I did it, which is another reason that I would want to, do it again and keep that conversation going, because I think it is really important. And it should be an ongoing conversation, an ongoing endeavor, an ongoing drive to advocate for ourselves and for each other, because we're more than
Yeah.
just a month.
100%. We definitely are. And the conversation is important because although we all have been in situations where we feel this way, it's not
Mhm.
always spoken about. It's just something that we just kind of have to accept. We're just going on. We're just continuing, our work, our in our schools, in all these different settings, and we're not voicing how this is making us feel and the
For sure.
importance that we need to be respected. It's important. So, yes, that's awesome. But talk about your faith. You are faith-based.
I am.
How important is that faith to you?
Um, it's just important, period. Like for me, there's no question about it. I was raised in the church. I was raised on faith. And I always stuck to that. I have a strong belief in God and all that He does for us, all that He can do for us. And, I think it's important to have faith in what you believe in. And, not everyone listening to this believes in the same God that I do, but they believe. And that's important. And again, it comes down to that respect too for each other's beliefs. But, I think faith is a big driving force behind my success. And when I say success, I don't refer to monetary success. Um, I refer to the ability to follow my passion and my purpose. I refer to, being healthy, being kind, empathetic, coming outside of my comfort zone, trying new things. All of that is faith in God and then faith in myself. I feel like faith is the gas that you put in your car weekly or monthly, and God is my driver. I'm just in the passenger seat, chilling, doing my work and just doing what needs to be done. But it's a battle because it's easy to again fall into your comfort zone. So I have to, every day choose faith over fear. I used to make the other choice beforehand, and I learned to do different. So, trusting my intuition, trusting faith, trusting God, and making that choice on a daily basis. And sometimes I forget, I deal with anxiety regularly. Um, Less now more than before. I have gotten anxiety attacks before because I'm the type of individual, I don't like not knowing. I want to know what's coming. I want to know what's happening tomorrow. If
Yeah.
you say, let's go for a drive, I want to know who else is coming. Do we have gas to come back? I want to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a part of faith is not knowing. You
Yeah.
have to be willing to trust and, let go, let God. So that's something that I have to learn. It's something that I still struggle with, even though, I preach it. I have to remind myself to practice what I preach because it's easy to revert to that old mindset. And I put up a post today, old mindset, who this?
Yeah.
You have to, tell yourself not to revert and
Yeah.
just really believe in yourself and believe in God and have the faith that things will work out. When God closes one door, praise him in the hallway because chances are there's something else that's better down the hall for you when that door is going to open. So
Yeah.
ready yourself, don't rush it. Prepare yourself for when that blessing comes because it will come without a doubt. But when it comes, will you be ready for it? So it doesn't
100%.
mean you sit and you twiddle your thumbs and you do nothing. Prepare yourself, you do the work, you get ready, comfortably get ready, and then your blessing will come. But have faith in it. Trust the process. Holy vision, trust the process.
That is so true. It's 100% necessary to make sure that we're waking up every day to make that choice. Faith
Yep,
over
and to be
fear,
thankful.
and be thankful.
Hmm.
100% gratitude.
Yep,
Yes.
I think that's a big part of faith too. Faith too is being thankful. We're not always in the season that we think we want to be in or we think we deserve to be in at a specific time. And I feel like every season that we are in is for a purpose. So I think it's really important for us to wake up each day, like you said, and be thankful. First of all, that we're even waking up and being here because you didn't have to wake up this morning.
Right?
So
Yeah.
yes, it's okay to, be down and all of that. But if you wake up today and you're just unhappy that you're alive, go back to sleep. Try again. Take a
Yeah.
nap and try again later.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important, man. And then, as you mentioned, when things don't go our way, we have to always find the silver lining in every single thing because there's something you can be grateful for. There's
Yeah.
always, and there's not only just one thing. When you start to listen, when you really start to think about it, you're like, I got a list, I got an endless list of things that I could be grateful for. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, um, I mean, there are lots of hurdles that we go through. It's important that we, face those hurdles with faith. Talk to us about how we can push ourselves when we are going through certain hurdles. What are some of the tips that you would give? Hey, mommy.
Um, Faith for sure. Faith in trusting God, faith in whatever or whomever you believe in,
Mhm.
believing in yourself and your capabilities. That's something I really had to do. I would listen to my parents' advice, I would trust in God, I would read my Bible, I would, look at motivational posts, but I wouldn't believe in myself and what I could do. Even though I knew I could do stuff, I just would, there's that imposter syndrome that's telling you, nah, you can't do this, you're not
Yeah,
an expert. You're not ready for this.
yeah,
And you have that doubt. So, just having that mantra, that I am mantra, who are you?
yeah,
Repeating that, reciting that every single day and really believing it, adapting to situations, and having patience. What you want or what is in store for you will not always come when you want it, but God's timing is perfect, not your timing. And I think it was really important for me to just trust that process and trust the journey. And that's what I would encourage others to do when they meet those hurdles. And, if you're going through hell, if you're going through the fire, keep going. Chances are you're going to come out as a diamond. Go through that fire. Praise God in the hallway and just have that self-empowerment, with a balance of humility. I'm not saying go out there and be cocky in everybody's faces. Ain't nobody have time for that. Just, have some humility. Be humble, be kind, be empathetic. When you throw that positivity out there, good things are going to come back to you. 100%. But you have to trust the journey.
true, very true. Well, Jamila, I appreciate you coming on to drop all these gems. I mean,
Thank you.
anybody didn't see Jamila on the summit for the spring edition, first off, I want to thank you for being a part of that because that was phenomenal as well.
Well,
And
thank you.
definitely want to check it out on my YouTube page. Check her session out. And I see Fearless Fifi in the chat too. Definitely want to check her out because she was speaking some real facts on trusting your
All the
intuition.
time. All the
Like,
time. Like she just drops bars all the time.
it was phenomenal. Um, but tell us, do you have like an inspirational quote or a motivational message that you would like to share with us?
I do. And I like this has always been something that I say. A quote that I love. It is my favorite quote by the late Audre Lorde. If I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive. So define yourself. Who are you? I am. You decide.
Mm, definitely. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Well, yes, thank you, Jamila. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you for dropping off all of this information on us. There's a lot for us to think about and to reflect on, but most importantly, define yourself. We're just going to end it with that because that is powerful. Super, super, super powerful. So thank you, Jamila. Thank you guys for
Thank you
tuning
for
in.
having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. And we'll definitely be in touch for sure.
For sure.
All right. Oh,
Have
hold
a good
on. Let
night,
everybody
everyone.
know where to find you. Where can we sign
Oh,
up for
yeah,
your
yeah.
services?
Yes, for sure. So you can either email me at diamond_initiative@yahoo.com, or you can check me out on Instagram. My handle is at diamond_initiative.
Okay. All right, perfect. So we'll definitely get in touch, you know? All
Sounds
right.
good. Stay blessed. Stay safe,
Okay.
everyone.
Yes. Have a good
Bye.
night.
You
Bye.
too.
All right. Phenomenal interview, guys. Yes, another phenomenal guest. And of course, what's the 411 where everybody's story matters. So it's super important for us to hear everybody's story. Everybody's story is just as important as the next individual. And we're always taking that information and we can apply it to what we have going on. Jamila was just dropping it off. I mean, for parents, guardians, aunties, uncles, cousins, it doesn't matter who you are, you definitely received something, some sort of information, edification through education on this show tonight. So make sure that you guys are not only applying the information that she gave us, check her out if you know somebody who is in need of a tutor, especially right now because there are so many children. Your kid may be doing perfect online in school right now, but they will always need that one-on-one. So it's always great to ensure that we are pushing our children to get that one-on-one care that they need and that they deserve, right? So it's really important we got to take care of these kids, man. We got to take care of them because, as Jamila said, they're not going to be kids forever. They grow up. You know what I mean? They're going to become we're raising these adults right now, and it certainly does take a village to raise a child. I really believe that. The more and more I'm looking around, there's different input that individuals need to make sure that they are using to benefit the children that we have growing up. So if you know of any child that needs that extra one-on-one help, just want to build them up in any way, she does not only provide them with the math and the English, she's also empowering your child. She's pushing your child to want to do better, pushing their confidence level up, and then some. So we're interested in hearing more about the I Am Unapologetically Black. So I can't wait for that conversation to come back. But for now, guys, make sure that you head over to Jamila's page, Diamond_initiative. Check out the conversations because I'm about to head on and check out some of those conversations for sure. And thank you guys for sharing your time with me. I appreciate you. If you did not get a chance to be on the show or to check out what we had going on at 7 p.m. today, we were talking to the Endo Warrior from the UK, Tawana, and she was here sharing her super phenomenal story with us. So you definitely want to check out my IGTV, check out her story, and then let me know if you guys are interested in connecting with me around those rain pads. All right. So you guys have a wonderful evening. I will see you same time, same place next week, right here on What's the 411, where everybody's story matters. All right. Have yourself a wonderful week and get outside, get some